So what is unfolding our here now reality is many, many layers of the unseen. Most of them are outside of time and space, though they do impact the unfoldment of time and space. Okay, so we're in time space. As time, time goes by, things grow. And in this timeline reality, we can walk or drive or fly and go from one place to another, and it takes a certain amount of time to do that. That's time space reality. And time works as an arrow in this reality, as in there's a launching, there's a middle, and then there's a landing, there's an end. Now, other of the nesting dolls within that create this reality have time, but it's a different kind of time. It's a cyclical time, it's a cycle. And then we also have spiral time. And then you also have a kind of time that is so, I'm going to call it static, slow moving, that it seems like it doesn't move at all, but it actually is. And so there's that kind of time. And then in another nesting doll, and then of course there's the nesting dolls where there is no space and time concept at all. Everything just is. It is until it isn't. And actually adapting that sense of reality to this reality is very, very helpful when navigating this reality, tough times and good times, right? There's a liberation that comes when we're aware and we're allowing to something to be so until it's not. We are free from in relationship to that, and whatever that is also free from us in that relationship. You see, so there are lots of ways that we engage without maybe realizing it in our here and now. So, with that said, a clock is not just a clock. A symbol is not just a symbol, especially when you start getting into mystical symbols. So, what I want to talk about is the Merkaba and the was it the star tetrahedron, and then the two-dimensional equivalent, which is the hexagram, and the Star of David. Now, these are all ancient symbols. And by the way, this I got turned on to this by a dear sister Starshine named Indigo Angel. She did a whole little video about the golden seal of persecution. She was speaking specifically about the hexagram, the golden hexagram patch that were that labeled the Jews in Germany and was used as persecution. But what's more important about this is that, yes, this is a symbol, and there's a symbol. It's in 3D. It has a color tone to it. Has gold, and on a 4D system level, when someone was wearing a patch, that would tell you that they were Jewish and they belong in this part of town or whatever. And there was systematic, bureaucratic things that were done to eventually funnel that into, we'll just say, a tunnel into hell and suffering. So that 4D expression, that tunneling, that funnel system that symbol was used for is actually an old ancient multidimensional tunneling system that exists in the etheric realms and the other realms. And what's really significant about understanding that these sacred symbols bring things up inside of us, it's really significant to understand that when the deeper their history goes, the more booby trapping, the more hijack very often has occurred with those symbols. Another holographic program symbol is that of the cross, right? And that is where that is a subconscious, that's a holographic program to trigger the persecution of our divinity and our subconscious. So when you see, pictures of Jesus hanging on the cross everywhere, that is a subconscious program getting triggered in you. It's your fault. You're a sinner. You kill your own divinity. You know what I mean? All these programs. I don't need to repeat them all, but you guys can see the power in that. Then now guilt and shame drive you in making your choices in life, which is not going to necessarily bring you to your true expression. Now, those of us who've been incarnating in this reality for a very long time, we've learned to navigate those programs. We've come up with our own sub-programs to those programs to help us navigate and get what it is that we want and serve our purpose. So that is a major thing that is on the chopping block right now, is our coping capacities to creating life with those kinds of programs running. okay, from these geometries, these sacred geometries. So particularly with the Star of David, I found it fascinating because she was connecting it into breeder programs and etheric, etheric energies that follow that this particular shape was used to implant in the collective field of humanity. Okay, so the collective field, remember, is not in time and in the same time space. So, what a group of humans experience in a particular landscape or lands makes a massive imprint in that collective field within the 4D field, and it's felt by everything and everybody, not just that region. So what's going on in Middle East, we may think it's off in that region, but it is absolutely impacting us in the here and now. We have to face the different kinds of there's structures that are being destroyed and falling down. Many of them were sacred buildings, buildings that held morphic fields that were very precious and rare, and they're getting destroyed. We feel those sorts of things. We feel the crumbling of that inside of our being, even though we might not know it. Okay. So, getting back to the hexagram, if you think about the different mystery school teachings that the Star of David is associated with. Now, I already associated it with the narrative and the lineage of the Jewish story, their successes and their plight. Right? There's all sorts of persecution that's associated with that particular bloodline, with the symbol. And then you might feel into other mystery schools that you've been a part of in your soul's journey. And maybe you were involved in the Sufis. Maybe you were involved in mystical Christianity. Maybe you were involved in the ancient dolphin schools. Maybe you were involved in the ancient different priesthoods and priestesses hoods in the pre-Egyptian or even Atlantean, Lemurian times. These symbols go all the way back to there. But in the etheric, in the soul's journey, in the Akasha, those symbols are connected to abuses of power, wounding, soul loss, other sorts of less than truth expressions. And when we have had imprints and things like that in our Akasha and in these different fields, it carries with us. See, our light body is our light body for every incarnational experience we have in this galaxy. So, something that may have happened 10,000 years ago is still very possibly activated and online in the here and now. Because remember, this reality, that linear 10,000 years, is only in this nesting doll. In these other nesting dolls, the time is completely different. In some, it's just a beingness, right? So when you are having mystical doorways accessed and utilized with this particular harmonic of shape, it reverberates interdimensionally, multidimensionally through the realms, and it impacts us consciously, subconsciously. A great example would be all the different Merkaba teachings. Many of them conflict each other about awakening your light body to the level of activating your Merkaba. That is a very significant teaching in the light body world, or I'm sorry, in the light worker world, about the light body. And there was discovery like, oh, this isn't just a benevolent shape. This shape that's a hyperdimensional doorway to other aspects of self can be twisted and reversed and used in less than beneficial ways for the person doing it, and because we are shut off to many levels of who we are, we don't necessarily understand the difference. We're told all sort of reversal programming that confuses our connection to how to properly use this shape, this doorway, and then it just muddies the waters until we figure it out, of course. And we do figure it out because there's times like these that we're in, where that awakening to self is happening from the inside out, quite literally.